Elected, you're going to find out that within the next few months we're going to have a lot of issues that are going to be coming up. We represent all of Hamilton County, and out of those, out of our county, we've got 11 municipalities. And I'm going to shift gears just a little bit and get away from the education issue and talk about something that our county commission has been involved with to a large degree over the past year. And as has been mentioned before, smart growth is important. We're on the pinnacle of great economic development. We need to keep the momentum moving here in Hamilton County, for all of Hamilton County. Two issues that have been raised, and one we'll be dealing with in May, will be the sales tax agreement. And certainly I'm not going to get you involved with that because there's a lot of that still in yet. I know Mayor Carpenter, he'll agree that some of that we still don't understand, but we're going to work through that. The two issues that we are going to be faced with probably just very soon will be with the city of Chattanooga. And we've got a great working relationship, and I hope we continue to have a good working relationship with the city of Chattanooga. But those two issues are annexation and consolidation of services. I want to know what your opinion, what your take is on annexation, how you feel about annexation, as well as consolidated services. And I'd like for each one of you to answer. 1 minute to answer. Yeah, that's good.
Yes, keep your answers just as short as you can, and once more, go ahead and identify yourself.
Mitch McClure. Number one, as far as annexation, I think that folks moved where they moved to because that's where they wanted to live. And I believe that annexation should be there should be some citizen input, that the voters should have a right to express that, whether they want to live in the city of Chattanooga or to live in an unincorporated area. That's my opinion. As far as consolidation, there's some constitutional issues. There's certain things that you cannot consolidate. The sheriff is the constitutional law enforcement officer in the county. You have that responsibility that belongs to the county. Now, there may be some areas that they can train together, they can do some things together. As I recall, we have consolidated schools. As I recall, we have a consolidated health department, the library, ambulance service, planning commission. We have many areas that are already consolidated. If it cannot be efficient, and if the costs are going to increase, why should we consolidate? If it is not beneficial to the taxpayers, then I would be opposed to any consolidation that would cost more.
George Patton. I think that we need to look at our county and our municipalities as a family. Each one of us has a role to play, and in these roles, we do things correctly. In annexation, people need certain services, and when those services are not provided, they need to look to where they can get them. People need to speak out, and if they need additional services, vote to go to where those services are. When someone chooses to live in a certain area, and I think it's difficult to look at Chattanooga as a place to live, take a look at Signal Mountain. Signal Mountain, people decide to go to Signal Mountain to live because of the services provided, the lifestyle there, and what other amenities are available. They know going in to pay, they're going to pay the taxes. If areas outside, Fox Run, for example, do not wish to be included, then I think that should be put to a vote. Consolidation, I look at it in a similar way. We each have things that we do the best. If unincorporated areas, for example, need additional services, then we need to look at the areas that are providing those services prior to increasing the costs of the county to add to those services?
It's funny, my wife and I were talking about this very question the other night, and they are so closely tied together because if you consolidate, you don't have annexation because everybody's there already. If you consolidate, you've got an awful lot of stuff that the county has got to take on. Having said that, we are mandated by the state constitution that the county government has to be here. I mean, there's no choice. They have to do it. And the cities are granted a charter to operate as a separate entity from the county because, so that they can have their own government. There's so many questions that are raised when you talk about consolidation because you're talking about everything from garbage service to people's pension funds to, there'd be an awful lot of things that the county would have to take on that could just break the budget, more or less. I believe that everybody in the county ought to have a voice in it. Now, yes, the people of the city of Chattanooga would have to vote on whether to rescind their charter. If they do that, we're stuck. Hamilton County would have to take up those services. Now, are we going to, is that something we want to do? It's something we have to at least look at and see what the possibilities are, because if they decide to do that, we have no choice. Now, the combining of the services, and I know that y'all are going to be dealing with the tax issue here coming up soon, and that's all part of it. That's all combined together. And if something there isn't solved, the county's going to be hurting for money because a large part of that will go back to the city, and we need that in the county also. Now, if we take consolidation out of the picture and we look at annexation, I think the county and the county residents need to have a voice in whether they get that they're taken over or not. I think they are the ones who say, and like they were mentioning before, I moved here because I wanted to live out here in the county. Yeah, my taxes are lower. I don't have to pay city taxes on top of my county taxes, but I like the lifestyle out here. If they did that and put the investment of a home anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 to $300,000, why should we, or at least why should the city be able to come out and say, I don't care what you think. We're going to take this because it's going to be more and better services for everybody in the city. I think that the relationship, as you mentioned, between the city and county are good, and I hope desperately that we can keep it that way. But it has to be mutual. It cannot be put down our throats. It has to be the county and the city working together on all of those issues.
As you know, I'm a volunteer firefighter right here. I do this because I love this community. As for annexation, I don't like it at all. If you let Chattanooga annex, you ultimately have a big city of Chattanooga, not a Hamilton County. That's in my eyes. The other thing is, for consolidated services such as fire service, police service, garbage service, anything like that, if you look at your fire service, you've got 90% of your fire service for Hamilton County is volunteer. We do this for nothing. We don't cost the county a dime when it comes to our service. Now, when it comes to apparatus, when it comes to water usage, when it comes to fuel, we cost a little bit. But other than that, we provide the community of Hamilton County a free service, if you really look at it. I average, for my call load alone, out of a 1,600 call a year fire department, I average about 60% of those calls. I do this on my own dime, out of my truck. I do this on my own dime, away from my family. I do this on my own dime, on my own free time, when I want to do something else. But I do it because I care about the community. If we consolidate everything, we run into people that either feel like they have to be there for a paycheck, or they have to do it because they were consolidated into a service that needs to serve the community. Again, annexation, no, I don't believe in it at all. I believe that the community should have a say on where the boundaries are set. I feel that wholeheartedly. And for consolidated services, we already work well together. We work with city very well. We work with the other county agencies very well. And we'll continue to do that because we love this community.
Laurie Shipley. District 3 is unique. We're not unique, but we have residents that are both city and county residents, such as myself. I live in the city as well as District 3. And then we have our county. You asked Commissioner Henry, annexation. I firmly believe it is the resident's choice. I chose to live where I live. They need to choose where they live. So that's my stand on annexation. It's the resident's choice. Consolidation of services. Mitch, I think you and I not only read the same book, we're on the same page. In my business, I have a degree in business from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. To consolidate services, and I'm just looking at, when you consolidate the services and just the vast restructuring to provide possibly not the same amount of quality services, but yet at the same time, you're consolidating, you're most likely increasing the cost of those services. It doesn't make sense. It does not make fiscal sense, in my opinion. So that's where I stand on consolidation.
Hello, Mike Basket again. In terms of annexation, I think we saw a little effort not too long ago to involve this area, and I don't think that went very well. I don't think it was very well received, and I don't feel like that it would be. So I guess from that, I am not in favor of annexation. In terms of consolidated services, I think that should always look for opportunities to consolidate if it makes sense, if there's synergies, if there's cost savings. But let's look at this realistically. You've got two departments consolidating. Which of the managers are going to give their job up? You can't have duplicate services and jobs and still realize any savings. So that's a tough one because of that. So that's my hopefully brief 1-minute answer.
Russ Collins. I am not in favor of annexation. Me and my wife moved into the county specifically because we like the lifestyle out there. We do live in Lakeside, so we have great services within that community. I realize not every community in our district has all the services maybe that we do. I like it out there. I want to stay there. Annexation concerns me when they start cherry picking larger subdivisions of high dollar residences, and yet the smaller subdivisions seem to get kind of left aside. Well, that's a revenue grab as far as I look at it. As far as consolidation, I believe we've got a very good system in place. I would look very strongly at the fiscal ramifications. Again, you've got pensions, you've got equipment, and nothing disrespecting how anything is currently or the ideas on the table. But when you look at the volunteer fire departments in particular, which is what I'm most familiar with, I'm very proud to have been on the board of directors at Dallas Bay. We put money back for fire trucks. We had the first CAFS pumper in the district, in the city of Chattanooga, period. $379,000 piece of equipment that we paid for with a check after being fiscally responsible for 5 years, putting back for that money. The county and the city do work very well together on these calls. I just don't feel very good about the consolidation of services. I think it becomes a bigger mess overall. I believe it's fine how it's working. I believe there are ways to improve each side and make it work within their side, but I don't think it's a very fiscally responsible direction.
Hello, Terry Conley here. As far as annexation, I've talked to some people in Middle Valley, Middle Valley against annexation, and they are like 1,500 strong. And I join them in keeping our county commissioners, our county commissioners, our county mayor. We moved out into the county for this reason, and we love it out here. We don't have to worry about all the rigmarole going in down in the city and all this stuff. And as far as consolidation, we've had enough put on our backs. We've got the schools put on our backs for the county. We've got the fire department, not fire department, but the ambulance service put on our back for the county that the county has to pay for, the city reaps the services on. So I personally like our county like it is. Thank you.
Wayne Hamill, annexation. If you've noticed some of the right-of-ways that extend from the city of Chattanooga out toward Ooltewah and other areas, it says right-of-way, city of Chattanooga. That's a finger extension that's put there to prohibit incorporation of those areas, because the state law says that you can't incorporate if you're within 5 miles of the city limits. That was strategic planning that was done to block incorporation. Annexation, I believe truly, is moot for the point in this period of time, and let me tell you why. The takeover of the city of Chattanooga and in the interlocal agreement that was provided requires that if Chattanooga annexes, they have to provide sewers within 3 years to those annexed areas. That's very difficult, very costly. The city of Chattanooga is aware of this. I do not believe that annexation is going to be anything problematic for any time soon. Consolidation of services? Absolutely. I'm a public works director. If we could consolidate and it would bring down the cost and we would still get the level of service, absolutely there for it. Thank you.
I'm Jerry Hass. As far as consolidating the services, if it would save taxpayers money, I'd go for it. As far as annexation, I think it's been brought up a couple of times. The voters voted it down, and I think it ought to go to the voters for annexation. The voters should decide that.
David Howell. Annexation, I'm not in favor of it. Doesn't make sense to me that the city of Chattanooga should come out here into Hixson and grab up parts of it just for revenue and then not be able to provide services to the people out here. As far as consolidation, I think consolidation makes sense when it does save costs, but I'll use Lakeside as an example. My experience there has been that we're able to serve them better and provide enhanced services and keep the taxes at the lowest municipality in the area because we're close to the people. We're close to the citizens of Lakeside. Somebody in Chattanooga or downtown is not making decisions for us in Lakeside. Because I live close to the people, I'm able to make better choices for them and get their input and be able to get their desires out. So I'm not for consolidation if that means that it's going to alienate municipalities like Lakeside.
Thank you. Further questions?
I'm Commissioner Joe Graham. Thank you all for participating. One thing that I think we can all agree that it's a very good panel of qualified candidates. So thank you for coming out. And thank you, Lady Republicans, for putting this on. My question is, with the economic growth that's coming, and our economic team is doing an excellent job of bringing industry to Hamilton County, we have to be competitive with other areas, have a pilot agreement. I'd like to know what each one of you think briefly on the pilot agreements. Thank you.
And try to keep the answer to 1 minute.
Joe, that's a great question. And the pilot program's pretty interesting. That's a payment in lieu of taxes is what the pilot program stands for. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that we have to do sometimes to get business to come in. If I had my choice, if I was a dictator, which I'm not, but if I was, I wouldn't be in favor of it because I think anytime we give up taxes for services, it's not a good idea. But in order for us to be competitive with these other communities that are already doing it, that's programming we have to do. That's why we've been able to get Volkswagen and some of the other ones. But we do need to look at smart ways to do it, like not giving up the school portion of it and hanging on to the school portion of the taxes and maybe giving them tax breaks on the rest of it.
sometimes in order to get companies to come in, you have to give them breaks. So I think that's a good idea because it gets a lot of taxpayer dollars in.
Your question, believe it or not, we get a lot of echoes up here, and it's very difficult sometimes to hear exactly what's being asked. It's being picked up, I guess, over different mics. Now, were you asking about what kind of incentives can we put in place to bring development to the area?
No, my question was, the pilot agreement that's already in place or that we use with the economic development team uses now, are you for it or against it, or what are your comments about the pilot agreement?
I don't have any details to the pilot agreement. I do see and believe, based on the works that I've done for the Regional Planning Agency, I know the strategic planning. I know we did some incentives for people to come in. I believe we're going to have to keep those to a degree, but then there's going to be a point in time that I believe we'll be able to let off because we will have done our homework, the people will be here, and things will begin to multiply. There is, obviously, the seed's been planted. And since that seed's been planted, I'd like to sit back and watch it mature. Thank you.
Terry Conley. As far as the pilot plan, I agree with it. We need to get more industry into Chattanooga and Hamilton County. There's plenty of spaces, plenty of property. Not only Volkswagen, but we need to look at some other companies like tire manufacturers company, more electric bus companies in Hamilton County and Chattanooga. I believe it could draw them in because we've got plenty of space for them, even on Highway 58. And so I'm for it 100% myself. Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to stand here and lie and say that I understand all the specifics of it at this point in time, but what I will say is, in order to get the Volkswagens, we do have to have incentives for these companies to come, because for every 3 that look at us, they're looking at 50 other cities, whatever, across the country, and those cities darn sure are going to be putting out their best options to get that in there. The way that I look at the pilot program, as I understand it, which is limited, if I'm trying to get Volkswagen in here, yeah, I'm going to give up quite a bit. Of course, we came out on a pretty good deal with that. We had the land in place. It was worked out pretty good. It's the residual businesses that will come with that. It will be the tire manufacturing company or the wheel manufacturing companies. And yes, we'll probably have to give up a little bit here and there to the bigger companies. There are companies that have to come for their own economic survival, come to the area, come to the region where these larger companies are, because they don't want to pay shipping to send their tires 10 million miles. I think we have to have it. I don't think we're going to get anything without a little bit of sugar and honey. You won't catch the flies. Thank you.
Mike Baskin. I think it's a reality. This is something that you got to do. You got to have incentives to get people here. I think the right thing that has been done is to take the educational taxes off the table. I don't really know the details of the pilot program, I'll be honest with you. So, old barber I used to go to used to say to me, you can take more off, but you can't put it back on. So start at one point and negotiate from there. And that's my viewpoint on it. Hope that helps.
Laurie Shipley. Companies, when they come in, they're going to look at cities comparable to Chattanooga size. Those communities have pilot programs. It's one of those things that it's needed not only to bring companies in, however, for a lot of times it's to keep companies here. What would this town been like if we lost Blue Cross Blue Shield? But my thing is, once the deal is signed, everyone has signed off, it's done. Don't go back and try to renegotiate. That's the key. We must stand true to the original agreement and not, okay, now we've got this, now let's go back and, well, we don't want to pay this, we don't want to pay that. No. You sign it, you adhere to it, you uphold it.
Sean Rogers. Again, I'm another one that doesn't know the particulars of the plan. From what I've seen, I see it's working well. And I do agree, once we bring these huge companies in, hopefully it will come back to smaller companies as well. Our town was founded as an industry town. I think we need to get back there. We've slowly lost industry over the last 10, 15 years that I've seen since being back. I think we need to start getting them here more and more, starting with Volkswagen. We're going to get them back.
Randy Price, you know, if you listen to the callers on talk radio, we gave away the store, and we're not getting anything back for it. What they don't realize, though, is not only do we have the other businesses that come in, all the other peripheral businesses, but then we have the people making money and increasing our tax base. We have people working, and that's not only putting money in their pockets, it also puts money into the county's pockets. And that is what helps stimulate the growth. I think that these kind of programs, I don't want you to give the store away either, but, and y'all know the figures and the financial part a lot better than any of us up here do. But I think if you can explain it a little bit better to people so that they can understand that that $1 that we may be giving away may turn into 7 or 8 or 9 further down the road, that will help people understand that these things are good for business and they're good for the county.
George Patton, I think payment in lieu of taxes is a piece of the puzzle. For salesmen, you go in, you're making an offer of what you can do for this customer. We have to decide whether there's a fit. Volkswagen was a fit. It was a big company that could go in and take a big piece of Enterprise South. Now, we had one thing that not anybody else had. We had Claude Ramsey. That guy sold that deal, and there is no question about it. He wanted that, and he sold it, just like a salesman. I'm satisfied that Huntsville had payment in lieu of taxes. The other thing that we have to do, we have to remind and promote to our local businesses. They are eligible for payment in lieu of taxes. Chatham, they got payment in lieu of taxes. We want those businesses growing too. Thank you.
Mitch McClure, I believe Trustee Hollander reported that Volkswagen will pay several $100,000 this year. In the ensuing years, they will pay $2 to $3 million a year in payment in lieu of taxes. You consider Amazon.com, average wage $30,250, 1,499 employees, and you consider every one of those employees has to have somewhere to live. They have to buy groceries. They're going to pay taxes. All these things. It's just an economic reality, because when the chief economic developer or director of this county, Mayor Jim Coppinger, goes out, he has to have something to entice them to come here. I believe that it's just a reality of industrial recruiting.
I noticed it's already almost 9 o'clock. One more question. Does anyone have one more question? There's a question back here.
I understand that the county commission is still deadlocked on picking the vice chairman. This deadlock seems to be the norm of the commission here lately, and I kind of like it. I'm glad the way it turned out on the last deadlock, but yes or no?
Use your mic, please.
A yes or no answer on the